Peace, family. Welcome back to the Divine Illumination. All right, today we're talking about the proper human diet. Now, before we get into anything, I want y'all to listen or watch this video with an open mind. The moment we start closing our minds to new ideas, new philosophies, we stop growing. That's the only way to grow, is to continue to expose yourself to new places, new information, new things in general. That's the only way to grow, and to me, that's one of the main reasons we here, is to grow and evolve. That's the laws of the universe, to naturally evolve. So have an open mind, and also think with a logical mind, because we're dealing with either facts, and it's either facts or false. You know what I mean? We can't think with an emotional mind. That's a lot of people get into their ego when they think with their emotional mind. Thinking with emotions is 9 times out of 10 ego based, and that's blocking us from, once again, new information, new ideas, new philosophies, because we got this certain way the world works in our minds, but we know little to nothing. So have an open mind, and let's observe what's false and what's facts. Now, when we look at nature, and you look at the physical structure of animals, that will usually determine, you can tell a lot from just an animal's physical structure. You can tell what their diet is, you can tell how they hunt, and things of that nature. When you observe the physical structure of a feline, you see that it's low to the ground so it can move fast and track down its prey. The big canines to rip flesh off the bone, the claws to defend itself and to grip its prey and to rip flesh off the bone as well. So that physical structure is letting us know that this animal needs to hunt and track down its prey and eat strictly flesh, right? There's no molars or anything in his mouth to even grind up any type of greens or anything like that. This is a carnivore structure, right? Now, when we go a little deeper into it, we talked about physical structure. Now, geographical location plays a major part in determining what that animal is going to eat, for obvious reasons. There's different food available in different regions, different temperatures, things of that nature. Excuse me. So when you look at an African lion and you look at a mountain lion, they're both lions, right? But if you place an African lion in the mountain lion's habitat, or vice versa, these animals are not going to survive. The mountain lion is too hot in Africa for the mountain lion. And then the African lion is too big and too bulky. It's not as agile as a mountain lion to catch the smaller prey that they hunt, and vice versa. And the mountain lion isn't equipped to hunt for the larger prey that the African lion hunts for, like the zebras, gazelles, impalas, things of that nature. So we see geographical location is extremely important in the animal survival and determining what their diet would be. I had a phone call coming in, but geographical location is extremely important. So now we talked about physical structure, geographical location, and now let's bring biological function into the picture. So let's go back a little bit and talk about the lion's physical structure and biological function. When you look at a lion, like we said before, big canines, no molars, to straight rip flesh off the bone and basically rip stuff up. You look at their claws, grab their prey, rip flesh off the bone, take down their prey. And when you go further into the lion's mouth, you look at their tongue. Their tongue is very ridgy. It's big ridges in their tongue, and it's real sticky, because they got to be able to grab this slippery, slimy, bloody flesh, grip it with their tongue, and throw it to the back of their throat and swallow it. There's no chewing involved, right? Like we talked about, no molars. So go further into the lion swallows the food. Now we're in the stomach, right? The hydrochloric acid in a lion or any carnivore is extremely high, over 20 times stronger than human's hydrochloric acid. A human's hydrochloric acid can burn a hole through concrete. It's that acidic, right? And carnivores is up to 20 times more powerful than that. So that's some acidic stuff sitting in their stomach to break down all of these complex proteins and all this raw bacteria that they just ingested with by eating this raw flesh, right? So past the stomach and go down to the intestinal tract. When you look at the intestinal tract of a carnivore, it's only 1.5 to 3, maybe 4 times the body length of that animal, right? So to put that in perspective, their intestinal tract is only from about 10 feet to 16, 17, 18 is pushing it. So from about 10 to 18 feet for the intestinal tract of a carnivore. Now, when you look at the intestinal tract of a human, it can be up to 9 times our body length. So that's like 45 to 50 feet and up. That's way longer than that little 10 to 18 feet for the carnivores. And the reason that is because the intestinal tract has to be short in the carnivore because that food is so toxic, it's so acidic, it's bloody, it's parasites in the food, it's all type of disgusting stuff in there that needs to be burnt and flushed out of the system quickly. That acidic food can't sit in there, or the animal will die. The lion will die. It's too acidic, right? So that's why the intestinal tract is much shorter. Now you look at ours, it's so long because we're gonna get more into that later, but it's longer because we need a longer time to process our foods. So it's sitting in there and it's going through a lot more of the digestion process in general. So with that being said, let's take a look at this picture here. So here you will see that how the physical structure is so easy to tell what this animal is supposed to be eating just based upon its mouth alone. Just look at this. Based on the mouth alone, you can see clearly that this here is a canine, rips flesh off the bone. Then the grizzly bear has an omnivore, so he has mainly canines, but he does have a few molars to grind up certain berries and things of that nature. And then your herbivores, all molars, all the way around, to sit there and grind and chew and properly break down those tough greens to be able to get the nutrients out of them. And you see the frugivores. We know, I mean, come on now. We see, that's what I mean by thinking with a logical mind. You see it. Alright, so we talked about physical structure, talked about geographical location, and we also talked about biological function. Now keep those in mind, and we're going to talk about the human diet. So let's start with physical structure. We showed you the mouth. Look at the mouth of the human and the primate. Now when you look at the mouth, especially in the human, look at the canines. These barely even pass as canines. It's really to pierce fruit, crack nuts, and pierce your vegetables. It's nothing. You can't rip no flesh off the bone with this. So we not that alone should let us know that we're not supposed to be consuming meat. You don't have any claws, you don't have any talons. There's no real canines like we just said. There's no way you're supposed to be consuming meat. And humans are the only species on the planet that sits there and cooks their food. And not only do we have to cook the meat, because you know damn well you ain't finna just cook no meat and eat it like that either. We have to smother it in seasonings and herbs, all the stuff that we're supposed to be eating anyway, to make it even bearable, to make it tasteful, to make it consumable at all. You have to dress it in all these different vegetables and herbs and seasonings. So that right there should let you know that we are not supposed to be consuming any meat. All the carnivores or omnivores in natures eat their flesh off the bone. They eat their food. They eat the flesh live. They eat the meat live. They don't sit there and cook any of their food. All right. So let's go further down into. Let's stay in the mouth. Actually, look at the tongue. Your tongue is nowhere near. Y'all know if you had a cat before, you rub the little cat tongue. His tongue be rough, super rough, right? It's even worse in the big canine. It's even rougher. Now, when you look at your tongue is nowhere near that rough. Your tongue is smooth. You have a smooth palate to sit there and absorb flavors, absorb and enjoy flavors, right? There's no flavor in dead flesh, right? So we go further down into the stomach. Like we said earlier, the hydrochloric acid in the stomach is nowhere near as strong in the carnivores. So your stomach isn't acidic enough to break down all these compound proteins and all of these nasty parasites that might be in the meat or anything like that. You're not acidic enough to break that stuff down. And also to even ignite the our digestive system, which is called to ignite peristalsis. I think I'm saying that word right. Peristalsis. Humans need fibers in order to initiate peristalsis. And what peristalsis is when your muscles contract and release and contract to start moving and pushing the food down your system, right? That can't be activated unless we consume fibers, and there's zero fiber in any animal products. There's no fiber in meat or dairy or fish. There's no fiber. That's not where you get your fiber from. So that's part of biological function. When we look at that part, that doesn't make sense. Think with a logical brain, not with emotions. It's either false or facts, family. And since we're on the topic of biological function, let's talk about it. Your digestive system, the human and primate digestive system, is designed for fermentation, right? A carnivore's digestive system is designed for putrefaction. Because the meat, what does meat do when you just set it outside? You set it outside in the sun. The meat sits there and rots, and then parasites and maggots, things like that, grow out of this. They grow out of this meat, right? It's sitting there, it's rotten flesh, right? But when you sit fruits, or when a fruit spoils, it doesn't rot, it ferments, right? It goes through a fermentation process. So once again, when you look at the physical structure combined with biological function, you see that once again the human body is not designed to consume meat. And like I said earlier with the intestinal tract, how the human's intestinal tract is much longer, 9 times the body length, right? And I was saying that the canine doesn't have that long intestinal tract because it needs to get that toxic meat out of it as soon as possible. But ours is so long because there's extreme amount. You get your fibers from fruits and vegetables, so you have to break down all of these fibers, and the food has to ferment within your intestinal tract, and that's why your intestinal tract is much longer. It has to go through a more extensive process, and it's not as toxic, so it's no problem with it going through this 45, 50 length, 50-foot intestinal tract. So based on what we looked at so far, to me it's pretty clear that the human diet consists of plants and nuts and seeds. So fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds. And another point I wanted to make is, let's go back to the primate. Let's go to chimps, for example. Now, some people will say, well, chimps eat meat too. They'll, that's only in certain cases. That's like things getting real territorial. He might take a bite out of somebody to show that this is his territory, or in some cases, self-defense. That's really what they canines is for, is mainly self-defense, to get predators away from them, right? But most of their diet, basically 90% of their diet, is fruits. Uh, Fruits, leaves, nuts and seeds, and insects on occasion. So this is basically a plant-based animal. And it's clear as day, everybody knows we're the closest to primates out of any other animal. You closer to a primate than you are a lion. I'm pretty sure we can all agree on that. I just want you to think with a logical mind. Look at your physical structure. Look at your hands. Most carnivores don't even see in color. Look at your eyes. We see in color because the colors are so vibrant to us, because we need to see, be able to tell when a fruit is ripe or when a vegetable is ready. We gotta see the bright reds and yellows and purples and greens. We gotta be able to see these bright colors first. And then we talked about the mouth a few different times. Molars, these small canines we have to pierce certain fruits. Nothing to rip and tear flesh off the bone, right? And then you look at your hands. You can't rip anything off the bone with these hands. And like I said before, we the only ones that cook our food. We shouldn't have to cook anything. Nothing in nature cooks its food. You eat everything live, everything raw, right? So our hands is designed for grabbing and plucking fruits off of a tree, picking berries. A canine can't pick no damn berries off of a bush. It's not designed for that. You should see by the design of the human being, you can tell what you're supposed to be eating, right? So that's just something to think about, family. Think with a logical mind, not with your emotions. And let's go further into it. Let's actually talk about the human diet versus the human diet. So, like I said earlier, how there's two different kinds of lions, there's different types of humans. So I'm not saying every human being diet should be the same. We have humans, H-U-E, hue meaning color. Then you have mankind, right? So I'm focused on the human diet, right? And when you look at our physical structure, our geographical location, and our biological function, we are people. We talked about physical structure. Let's look at geographical location. So when you look at the geographical location of where humanity started, I'm pretty sure at this point we can all agree that humanity began in Africa, where the sun is shining heavy. You can grow all your fruits and vegetables no problem, right? That's another sign that these are the type of foods that we should be eating. We're not hunters and gatherers like cavemen or ice people or nothing like that. Come from sunny areas where you can grow your produce with ease, right? And then when you look at the melanin in the human being, you see that melanin is condensed sunlight, and then that breaks down even further into carbon, and then that carbon breaks down even further into sugars. So we are literally made of plenty and plenty of sugars, right? And where do you get your sugars from? Fruits. Hopefully this was enough information. Hopefully this was enough insight for you to see that we are designed to eat fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. To me, it's clear as day that we're not supposed to be consuming meat products. We're not designed for that at all. We're not in the. It doesn't make sense. Get you some fruit, vegetable juice, freshly squeezed. Wifey just brought. Get you some of that though. Absorb into your bloodstream 5 minutes after you consume it. Easy on the digestive system. Just makes more sense. We're supposed to be consuming fuel for our body, not stuff that's gonna slow us down and bog us down. We were just talking about that last night. You eating foods and you got the itis, you feel stuffed, you bloated, you can't move. In nature, how you gonna survive? You can't move, you can't run around. Like 90% of America can't even run a damn half mile, run to the end of the street. Simple stuff. So we're supposed to be active, agile. Our food is supposed to fuel us, give us energy. We're supposed to feel better than what we did before we ate. You know what I mean? But like I said earlier, family, think with a logical mind, not an emotional mind. And hopefully I was able to help you out, and hopefully this made sense. All right, y'all, I encourage y'all to take yourself serious, love yourself. I love y'all. That's pretty much it. Eat to live. I'm out. Peace. Look.
I am alive, yeah, I am a god. I look in they heart and I see the disguise. I see the mirage. Eyes know on fire, I peep when they hide.